I'm Tania Gustafson, award-winning nutritionist, behavior specialist, and certified mental wellness coach on a mission to help midlife women move from barely surviving to thriving. You have been lied to. Weight gain, mood swings, hot flashes, brain fog, despite what the world and even your doctor may have told you, do not have to be your story. You are not broken. You've just never been shown how to fuel your body in a way that creates hormonal balance. Fit Woman Podcast is where we expose the lies and share all things to help women take back control of their health, hormones, weight, and mental wellness and thrive through midlife. I'm so glad you're here. Hello there, and welcome back to Fit Woman Podcast, where we talk about all things to help women fuel their bodies, ignite their metabolism, and thrive through midlife. No more surviving for us over here, all right? So if you notice, I have a different background this week, right? Last week, I was in my Mexican outdoor studio, so to speak, coming to you from Los Barriles, Mexico, which was super fun. And that's what's actually inspiring this week's episode. Okay. So a lot of people are saying, hey, how was your vacation? And did you have a good time and everything? And to be completely honest, we had a great time. Obviously, who doesn't have a great time when it's warm and sunny and you're not so crazy about the cold weather here in Canada. So yeah, we had an awesome time, great friends there, did lots of fun things, did lots of work on our place. But that's the thing. A vacation is a short period of time. You go away for a weekend or a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe sometimes 3 weeks is kind of extending that vacation sort of mode. But when we were gone for, 2 months, a little more than 2 months. And so it's not so much, you have to get out of the mindset of you're going on vacation. It's rather you're changing the location of where you currently are. And that's really important and that's really key. And I wanted to talk about that today because when we have that vacation mindset, but we're going away for an extended period of time. So we're in essence changing our location of where we're living. A lot of snowbirds fall into this category, right? And you maybe go away in the fall, you don't come back till the spring, and people say, oh, how was your holiday? And you say, great, and you don't really think about it. But if you have that holiday mindset, that holiday mentality, because we know that doing the things daily that we need to do to keep us consistent with our health is all a mindset piece, right? If we haven't recruited that mindset to lock in what we know, we just won't do the do, okay? Because it's all up here. So we need to get the mind in the right place. So if we're thinking, well, we're going away and it's a vacation, we tend to do the vacation-ish type things where we, skip our workouts. We don't really focus so much on choosing healthier options for food. And we maybe choose more desserts, or we have more fancy lattes and coffees and ice creams and things like that, right? And not to say we can't have those things, but considering, how long we're gone, if we have a holiday mindset or holiday mentality for the whole time that we're gone, it could be up to 50 or even 60% of the time you spend in a year would be doing things that don't serve your body. And then that window of time where you're back home and dialed in. And I'm saying, over 50, over 60%, you're like, Tanya, that's a long time. We also have to consider those times when we're at home and we do have those celebrations. We have Christmas, we have Easter coming up, we have birthdays and anniversaries and barbecues and graduations and get-togethers. Sometimes we do pizza night every week because we're just, we're at the end of our rope and we're busy. So when we put all of those things together, it can often be way more times that we're doing the things that don't serve our body than the times that we are. And that's where our health then becomes a red flag. So I got a little story about that. And so my lovely mom, she's no longer with us. She passed in 2020. But my parents used to go down south and they would visit my Nana, her mom, and they would stay for, about 6 months and come back. And they started doing it in small bits. They would first of all go for, they went for a holiday, like a couple weeks, then they would come back. And then they then they started to drive their trailers. So they'd go for a couple months and then they would stay for 3 or 4 months, and then they would stay for 6 months, like they kind of, and so it was always kind of, I think, in the back of my mom's mind, oh, we're going away, we're going on holidays, right? She would always say that, we're going on holidays. We're going to go down and visit Nana. We're going on holidays. We're going to do the bluegrass festivals. We're going to meet our friends. We're going on holidays. And to her, like, a holiday was doing something different than she didn't do at home. However, all of those things that she was doing, visiting friends, doing bluegrass events, my parents play music. My dad still does play music. He builds guitars. And they were still doing all of those things when they went somewhere else, and they were just there for an extended period of time. They'd go to Arizona, and they lived up north here in BC. So swapping the snow for the sun, right? And visiting family and just spending some of that quality time. And so I've got a little story about that, because what I was just saying about the 50 to 60%, I'm going to share that with you at the end about my mom, because it's really going to drive this point home. All right. So we have to think about, so stick with me here, because it's worth it. Trust me. So travel is a life happening event, right? Life happening. Life happens. And so those things where we say, oh my gosh, life is happening. It can be like stress is happening. Maybe you lost your job, or you have to move suddenly, or, there's a death in the family. Those can be really not so great life happening events, but life happening events can also be really exciting and really happy, but they can be just as disruptive, like a new baby in the family. Oh my gosh, it's a wonderful occasion. Totally disruptive, right? A new marriage, someone else in the family, everyone has to, they're planning the wedding and whatever. Beautiful occasion, totally disruptive, right? There's all of these things. You buy a new house, then you have to move, right? So your life is happening. And all of these disruptions cause us to, if we don't have those, if we haven't created the habits that create the patterns, that create the brain grooves, then it's not an automatic thing we're doing in our life, like brushing our teeth, right? So think about brushing your teeth. It doesn't matter what happens in the day. You are not leaving the house in the morning, or even if it gets later in the morning, closer to afternoon, you're not leaving the house without brushing your teeth, right? You're just not. And even sometimes I've done this. You get to the door, you're putting on your shoes. You're like, oh my goodness, did I brush my teeth? And you think, I think I did. So you run back upstairs to check, right? You run back to the bathroom and you check, and sure enough, your toothpaste is wet, or your toothbrush is wet rather. And you're like, okay, good, done. Off I go. But it's so automatic because it's a brain groove. It's something that's part of your lifestyle, part of your everyday, just like driving to work. If you've been at the same work for a long period of time, when you get there, sometimes if you've been totally distracted, if you had a crazy morning with life happening events, you get to work and you're like, dang, I don't even remember, the left turn, the right turn, the stoplight. I'm just here because you're on autopilot, right? Does it make sense? All right. So when we're away for those short periods of time, or even those long periods of time, depending on how you're set up when you're away long term, right? It can be a life happening event. It's really fun. It's really great. You look forward to it, but it disrupts you in ways that are different from at home. And so while we're away, it's important to think about, okay, we don't need to necessarily think about gaining ground. So especially if someone's on a weight loss journey, thinking about, oh my gosh, how do I continue losing weight while I'm gone? Oh my gosh. And the stress just is triggered so much that it actually releases the cortisol and forces your body to store fat. Okay, so not something you want to do. You do not want to elevate the cortisol. You do not want to trigger a stress response and then live in that heightened response the entire time you're away. You are not doing your body a service at all. You're actually doing a disservice, and you're going to reverse those results. So if you focus on, okay, let's just relax about that. Let's just see what I can do, what I've got in my toolbox, and to maintain while I'm gone. All right. So think about this. What works for you at home? Take it with you. So sometimes we can't take everything physically with us. Like you can't take your gym here. You can't take your yoga class with you here. But what can you do when you're at your destination that would mimic that, or that could, fill in the gap for that until you get back home? All right. So that's something you need to think about. So what would you pack with you when you go? So what works for me at home is what's going to work for me there. And so there is a gym when I go to Mexico. So the gym is my thing. There's also yoga. There's also walking on the beach. We do a lot as well too. There's hiking, there's biking. There's a lot of things, right? So take a look at where you're going and think, well, what am I normally doing here? And what can I replace it with over there? Okay, so you're thinking ahead. It's part of the planning process. You plan your trip, right? You plan the flight, you plan the hotel or the Airbnb. You plan if you're meeting up with friends, you plan the excursion. You make sure your passport's up to date. You get your travel insurance. You change the currency if you need to. You plan. You do all those things. So add that to your checklist. Okay, what can I do when I'm gone that's going to mimic what I'm doing here? So for me, okay, so what do you need to take with you to make sure it happens? So what works for me at home, I pack and I take it with me. So yes, I then pay for a suitcase to go under the plane. Because now, like I said, right, we're going for an extended period of time. If you're just going for the weekend, for a week or something like that, you're not going to need to do as much. You're still going to want to focus on maintaining, and you're still going to want to think about my proteins, fats, and carbs, my choices, all of those kinds of things. But it's a smaller window of time that you're going to be sort of out of sync with what you're normally doing, if that makes sense. So for me, I pack my workout clothes. I take my supplements, I take my water bottle, I take my Bible, my journal, my whatever I'm recording my appointments on. So for me, it's my phone on my calendar, but whatever you do that, if you're working while you're gone, like I do, then, if you're changing location, right, then you're probably still working while you're gone. If you're not retired, then you need to take whatever device is. So I take my laptop and everything. I take my matcha tea that I love to have sometimes in the morning. Whatever it is, make room for that and take it with you, or organize that you can get it when you get to your destination. Okay. And so, like I said, when I travel, I take my trusty water bottle. I take a large water bottle, especially for when you're on the plane, right? It's dry in there and they will refill your water bottle on the plane. So I take it dry through security. I put in, a protein bar for when I'm traveling. I take my protein shakes, but I scoop some and I put it in a little Ziploc bag. And then I drop it in here with my protein bars. And then when I go through security, I take them out, put them in my pocket or put them in my carry-on, and then fill my water bottle so that I have some healthy snacks on the plane. I have a full water bottle to stay hydrated, and I get where I'm going like refreshed and not dehydrated, not tired, not cranky, not hungry, not hangry, or not having bloaty issues because I've had to eat something on the plane that I didn't even know, it's like, oh my gosh, I forgot food, or had to pay an exorbitant amount of money in the airport for some food. And every once in a while, you may want to, do a restaurant in the airport, and that's okay, right? You're just going to pick something that works for you. So I take all of those things. I take all of my supplements that work at home for me, or in some instances where I've been able to, in places I've gone around the world, I've been able to order them and have them sent to where I'm going, which makes so much easier because you're going to use them while you're there and then come home. So if you're packing them, that's the other nice thing. I brought back a whole bunch of vanilla for friends and family. So it filled up the space in my suitcase where my supplements were. So like I said, I take my protein because I have my shake before I go to the gym. I take a really good multivitamin with us. We take some activated charcoal. You never know when something's going to happen in your tummy, especially in Mexico or in places where, there might not be such great water. I take my protein bars, like I said. I take my happy juice concoction for a happy gut all the time and energy, and also electrolytes. Okay, so all of those kinds of things, especially when you're in the heat, because I knew we'd be working outside. We still have some things to do around, or even if you're not working outside, if you're going on excursions or if you're at the beach for an extended period of time, having an electrolyte in your water bottle instead of, all of those cocktails on the beach. Not to say you can't have a cocktail. I would fill up on the electrolytes first so that you're hydrated, because alcohol and the fruit juices and all the sugar actually works to dehydrate you a little bit. Okay. Same with the caffeine and the coffee. So you want to hydrate your body first, get that, get everything absorbing so that you're not going to be headachy and tired later in the evening. Because especially if you're out in the heat all day.
Wasn't that great? Okay, so before we get back into today's episode, I want to share something that I know will change your life for the better, like it did mine. If you're over 40, feeling like your body just does not respond the way it used to, your metabolism feels stuck, and your energy is not what it once was, and the scale keeps creeping up no matter how good you try and eat, you need to hear this, okay? You are not broken, and this is not your fault. Your hormones, blood sugar, and yes, even inflammation are all playing a role in what's happening with your body right now. But there is a method that actually works with your midlife physiology instead of against it, okay? So I want to invite you to watch my free training video where I break down the FIT method, how to fuel your body, ignite your metabolism, and help you thrive through midlife without the dieting, without the deprivation, or the burnout. In this video, I'll walk you through why your metabolism feels like it's stuck in airplane mode, why cutting calories and doing that extra cardio is not the answer, and how to stabilize blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and support your hormones so that you can have real sustainable results that stick. No gimmicks, no quick fixes, and definitely no diets. And once you've watched, if it resonates with you and you're ready to say, I'm worth it, because you are, go ahead, complete that questionnaire and book your consult with me to talk through your plan and set a strategy for your body and your goals. What are you waiting for? Head on over to fuelignitethrive.com or click the link in the show notes, watch the free training, book your call, and together we can make midlife the best time of your life. It's time, and you are worth it.
Also, your sleep schedule is also different often when you're on holidays, okay? So if you can kind of mimic what you're doing at home, that's even better. So if you're there, if you're changing location, if you're a snowboard, you're there for an extended period of time, yours might be pretty similar. But, you know, there's usually more occasions that we go out to eat or to go out and visit with friends or to do excursions and things like that. So it might just be a little different where you're sleeping in or you're staying up later. And so just know that as one of those plates get wobbly, remember our plates. Okay, let me just bring that up. Okay, for those of you who are watching, you're seeing this. For those of you that are listening, head on over to YouTube or to my website, fuelignitethrive.com, and head on over to the blog section, and you can see there's podcasts segments in there with the video option. Okay, so I'm just going to share the spinning plates. Okay, our spinning plates, I'll describe it for those of you who are listening. 6 plates on sticks like the guy at the circus. Picture that. Okay, we've got nutrition, exercise, sleep, water, stress, and supplements, how you feel your nutritional gaps, okay? So if your sleep plate is getting a little disrupted, you're sleeping in, you're staying up later, it's a bit more erratic, this plate might get a little bit wobbly, we call it, okay? So it's not up and spinning, it's not in its regular rhythm like you would be at home. And that's okay, you just know that's gonna happen, right? You know that's gonna happen. And so, but also know the more plates that get wobbly, the more you'll be treading water, you'll be maintaining rather than, gaining ground. So that's why I'm telling you, don't expect to gain ground with your health goals, with your weight goals, with whatever it is you're doing when you're away, because you're going to just automatically, by being away, by being disrupted, you will make a few of those plates wobbly. And when they're wobbly, so if your sleep plate's wobbly, it doesn't allow you to metabolize food as good. Okay. You're going to have, maybe less sleep. So there's a few digestive issues as well too, and cognitive function. There's a whole bunch of things, right? Sleep is a really good, thing for detoxing and cleaning out all the junk and stuff like that in our body. So if we're having less of it, but we're in a place where we're having more stuff that's maybe a little bit, not serving our body, more celebratory instead of, serving our soul and, fueling our soul instead of fueling our body, then just expect that. Okay. And allow that to happen. Be aware of it so that you can minimize that whenever possible, making different choices. And so if your sleep schedule is off and you sleep in, so say you normally get up between 6 and 7. So you're normally having your first meal of the day within that first hour, and you're having your scrambled eggs and your fruit, or you're having, like I do, a protein shake before you head off to do a fitness class or your workout or something. And now you're like, you slept in and it's like maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock even. And you're like, oh my gosh. And it's way past when you would have normally had that shake or had that first meal. The worst thing to do is say, oh my gosh, okay, well, I'll just, I slept past it, so I'll just skip it and I'll just wait for lunch, or we'll have a late brunch. No, 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 no. You still need the protein first thing in the morning. It doesn't matter what time you wake up. Remember, protein within the first hour, because it's going to regulate your blood sugar. It's going to bring down any inflammation and control that stress response so that you're not setting your body up to store fat when you do go and eat. So you might think, oh, I'll just wait and I'll go eat and I'll choose really healthy options. Great, you're choosing healthy options. Don't change that. But if you're not setting your body up for balance, it's going to be storing fat from whatever you're eating, because your blood sugar has dropped for so long before you got there. All right. So is that making sense? I hope that's making sense. So protein, doesn't matter what time you get up, protein, protein, protein. And then multiple times throughout the day, whenever you're having something to eat, have some protein. And anytime you're having a drink that's not water, we're going to talk about that one coming up, then you may want to make sure that it's preloaded with protein. All right. So when you're sleeping, for women in menopause, this protein first thing in the morning, or perimenopause even, is so key. All right. I've got some notes here. I'm just making sure that I don't miss that. But it also means that you're setting yourself up to exacerbate any symptoms that you may be experiencing in perimenopause or menopause if you are skipping that protein first thing in the morning. Okay. And that's going to make your holiday, your home away from home, whatever it is, that's going to make your time away not as much fun, not as enjoyable, if your symptoms all of a sudden, kick into overdrive. Like, it's like pouring gas on a fire. You don't want to do that. So you want to make it a positive experience as you're gone. So make that effort to get that protein first thing in the morning. Stress, one of our plates, right? If you are working when you're away, you're checking into work, or you work while you're gone, schedule it. Set aside a specific period of time to get the work done, and then leave it so that you can be present with your family, your friends, and doing all the things that you want to do. Okay. Because now you've segmented that, and then you can let your brain relax. Your brain now knows, okay, I've taken care of everything that I need to do. Okay, we're good. And you set that expectation, and you set that, you set the tone for the day when you do that. All right. That way your brain is not always saying, oh, hey, do you remember you've got that stuff to do still? You've got that stuff to do still. Remember, don't forget. And you really can't enjoy your day because you're thinking, oh, when am I going to get that done? When have I got time? We're supposed to go on that tour at 2:00, but maybe I can squeeze in half an hour before we go. No. Set the time. And if it's different every day, that's okay. Just assess the night before. What am I doing? What am I doing with the family? What am I doing with the group? Whatever. And then set aside the time and dedicate that, put that in your calendar as if you were at home, right? Because you've just changed location. If you were truly on vacation, you would not be doing work. Okay. All right. So water. Here I said we talk about water. You need to drink water more than any other liquid. Having that right now. Okay. Water more than any other liquid. Have it before and after any other beverage, especially alcohol, coffee, the fruit juices, the mocktails, even those fresh pressed juices that you sometimes get at resorts and stuff like that. Depending on how they're done, they can be nutrient dense, or they can be sugar dense, which means your blood sugar is going to go through the roof. There's no protein in it either way. So it's still going to elevate your blood sugar. So if you're going to opt for one of those, have it with your protein breakfast. Okay. Start eating the protein and the healthy fats first, get that in, and then sip on that afterwards. Okay. Hopefully that's making some sense, because that's all carbohydrates. It's concentrated carbohydrates in a glass. And if you're just drinking it down, we all know what happens when we only have carbohydrates, right? The blood sugar goes straight up. Sure, it has fiber in it because it's a natural food. It's not like a processed piece of bread, but it's still processed in the way that it's been blended all up. And think about this. If you were to eat an orange or an apple or a banana or some chunks of pineapple, whatever, you would have a serving. But when it's pureed up or juiced, how many are you having? We don't even know. It's quite a few. It's probably 5 to 7 pieces of fruit in a glass. Veggies are better. The carbohydrates are lower. There's not as much sugar. But still, even veggie fruit combos, like how much are you actually having? It's way more than you'd ever put on your plate. So yeah, you're consuming a lot of great nutrients, but you need to do it in a way that's actually going to serve you, or all you're going to do is get a spike and a crash later, and you won't have that sustained energy. So yes, it's healthy. Yes, they're good foods. Make sure you do it in a way that's going to serve you. All right. Okay. Supplements. I take them with me wherever I go, and you should too, regardless of what you're taking. I mean, you use them at home for a reason, right? So why on earth would you stop showing up for yourself and neglect one of those spinning plates that you have up and spinning that's already going, that's working just fine? Why would you disrupt the plates? It's a fair question. So if you have to bring an extra bag, so be it. That just means that you have room to bring souvenirs home when you come, because you will have eaten all of that. You'll have gone through it. You'll have a little space for souvenirs. So like when we went, my husband has his favorite protein. I have my favorite protein. We take our small dog. So I have to take her dog food because it's a specific one from the vet, and I know I can't get it down there. So yes, I have an extra bag with this, with the protein, with the dog food, with my supplements, with the things that I know I can get there. You know, it's just a thing that we do because we know that's going to make our lives better. We're going to feel better every day. We know it's going to help us with energy. We know it's going to be the best for our little dog, for her stuff. We just know it's better because we can't get those things there. And I haven't found anything of the equivalent. Now, if you find something equal where you're going, absolutely. Like if you're going from Canada to the US and something that you normally buy, you can get it on both sides of the border. Absolutely. Then, you are golden. You don't have to pack that. But if you're going somewhere else, like a resort or a different country that's not, and you're like, oh, I'm not really sure, take it with you. Trust me, you're going to thank me for it. All right. Because, and that'll help you too, as well, too, especially if you, use a protein shake or a bar or something like that, taking a few extras with you, because if you're out and about, like I always have enough for travel days. And then if you happen to be out and about on a tour or something, sometimes they run long. Sometimes, by the time they take you for the lunch break or whatever, it's been a long time since breakfast. And the whole mentality, is still, I think, well, just eat a big breakfast and then it'll carry you through for the rest of the day. Your body can only metabolize a certain amount. So if you're eating like a Viking so that you can last, through in case lunch goes late, and you're having your breakfast at 7 a.m. so you can be on that 8 a.m. Tour bus, that's a long haul. You need to have something around 10 a.m. to keep your blood sugar stable, or you'll start getting hangry. And then you'll stop and buy, like if you're in Mexico, you're probably stopping by the churros or like a mocha frappuccino or something like that, because it's just like your blood sugar starts to go wonky. And then your hormones start to take over. And when they take over, it's like, why don't I have the willpower? No. It's not you without the willpower. It's the hormones, because you put your body in a position where it triggers that survival mode when no food comes. And so that's what it triggers. All right. So don't think about it as, oh my gosh, I don't have any willpower when I'm on holidays. Think about, what is my normal MO? My modus operandi, my method of operation. What do I normally do on holidays? Now that you've heard me talking about this, does this make more sense now why I would be getting cravings? Okay. So start implementing a few of these things the next time you go on a trip, and you watch these things change, right? Protein, take your stuff with you that works, drink more water than any other liquids. Be wary that sleep can disrupt a few things. And so you're thinking about, maintaining rather than gaining. And you're going to have an awesome trip, and you're going to feel great coming back. You'll have room for the souvenirs in your suitcase, and you won't be bringing the extra holiday 10 pounds back around your middle. Plus which you will not have fired up any of those hormonal symptoms either. Huge win, in my opinion. Like, trust me. My husband and I traveled 5 weeks in Europe when I was going through menopause, and I implemented all of these things I just told you. Neither one of us came back with any extra weight. 5 weeks we were gone. Okay. We had a rolly bag and a backpack. I ate some of the celebration things. It was my 50th birthday trip. So I had the chocolate croissant in Paris, and I had some wine and bread and cheese for dinner one night. And we went to the chocolate tasting factory for my husband's birthday in Switzerland, and we did all the things, right? But because I knew how to balance our blood sugar, but because I was implementing these things that had become a lifestyle and I was making it my lifestyle wherever I go, we were great. We had energy. Nobody was hangry. We did tours well. We were on all the hop on, hop off buses. We had a great time. And we didn't come back with any extra weight. In fact, I actually lost a pound. So there's that. Okay. So just thinking about that, and I had 0 hot flashes, 0 menopause symptoms. All right. So just so you know, it can be done. So I promised you the story about my mom. So I'm going to put that in here. All right. Which is really quite funny. And it was quite shocking for her. So they live about, my dad still lives about 4.5 hours away north of me here. And I'm in Kelowna, BC. And so they would always come through for Christmas. They pull their little trailer. They come at Christmas. We'd all celebrate Christmas together with the family. And then a few days later, after Christmas or a week later or whatever, they'd head on down and they'd, camp all the way down to Arizona. They visit my Nana. They do all their bluegrass loop and visit with friends and do classes and all the things. And then they'd slowly work their way back up and they'd be back here in the spring, usually in April around for my birthday. That was kind of their goal. So they were gone for a fair chunk of time, right? They were gone for at least 4 to 5 months. And so when they're on the road, my mom had this thing that, okay, we're leaving early in the morning to start pulling the trailer, drive to Kelowna before we head down south. I don't really want to make a whole big breakfast and have to wash all the dishes. So they used to take a shake. They would take a shake in the truck and do that. And then they would, that would get them through till when they got to Kelowna, they'd come over to our house, we'd have lunch, and they'd, be right on track, right? They had to take a few snacks in the truck, things like that. But then it got, well, no, I'm not going to blend anything. We're just going to stop and grab like an egg breakfast sandwich on the way. Because eggs are healthy. Well, eggs are healthy. But what else is in that breakfast sandwich, right? So they would start doing that. And then they would get into town and then they're like, well, we shouldn't bother you because you're probably working, you're not done your work day yet, me. And so we don't want to disrupt you working at home or whatever. And so we'll just go out for lunch. And then they'd come over later when I was done. Of course, we'd all have healthy dinner together. We'd have dinner and whatever. So they would do that. And then, of course, there's Christmas and all the things. And then they would head off. And I said to my mom, okay, well, when you drive and you leave here and you're camping all the way down, do you cook every night in the trip? Well, no, not till we get there because we just want to, drive as far as we can and then stop and grab something to eat and then go to sleep and wake up in the morning. I don't want to be, washing dishes on the road. I'll wait till I get there. Okay. So then you start adding these things up, And so when they were coming back, we started talking about, eating out and how many times. And my mom says, oh, well, we hardly ever eat out. I said, oh, really? Well, yeah, when we're down there in Arizona, then we go out once a week with friends. Oh, okay, well, that's nice. And what about don't friends ever invite you over to their houses or whatever, like to their campsite or their trailer or whatever, their house if they live there? Well, yeah, we do that probably, once or twice a week, things like that. And then what about when you're traveling from place to place? Like, are you cooking or are you eating? Oh, no, well, we're, because we're on the road, so we're picking up something. Oh, okay. And what about when you're driving back to Kelowna? Are you, cooking as you're camping? Oh, no, same thing. And then, they get into town, same thing. They go out for lunch before they come to see me and, all the things. So we got talking about that. And she goes, well, when we get back home, then we're back to normal. And I said, oh, okay. So, well, how often do you get? Well, we don't really eat out. Maybe once a week we'll get Chinese food. And then only when when we go to town, then we'll go to Tim Hortons and, we'll get the chili and I'll get my, what was it that she liked? My English toffee or my French vanilla, whatever it was, cappuccino thing that they have there. And I said, well, what about, you go to crib night, they have snacks there, right? You go to this, you go to that. And I started, well, yeah. And I said, so I started doing a little bit of mental math. You see where I'm going here with this, right? You're seeing what I'm saying, like at the beginning of the show where I said it could be 50 to 60%. I kind of did a quick mental calculation and I said to her, Mom, you realize that you're probably eating out about like 60% of the time. She said, oh my God, I don't think so. I think you're exaggerating. Oh my gosh. So I kind of started listing what she was telling me. She's like, well, that's just way too much. I just don't even think so. Cause I come from growing up, my mom made everything homemade. We literally did not go out to eat when I was a kid. I think maybe twice a year. There was a fish and game banquet and there was New Year's and my mom let us order pizza. So like we just didn't, right? So in her mind, she's still doing that because that's what was ingrained in her brain grooves. And then these little interruptions didn't trigger that, hey, this is different. So when I brought that to the forefront to her, she started thinking about it. And she started thinking really hard. And you could tell, I could see the wheels turning. She was not happy with this whole thing. And, she was just kind of sitting there, kind of a little bit frustrated. And I said, okay, well, try this then. When you go home, she had a paper calendar. I always make them a calendar every year with grand, pictures of the kids and whatever. Anyway, I said, go to your calendar and every time you eat out or don't eat at home, like you grab something out, whatever it is, you go to Tim Hortons, you grab lunch, you go to a friend's house, whatever. Just put a little check mark on the calendar, okay? And then see how many check marks are at the end of the month. And you'll kind of see, it'll give you a really good visual, a good representation, right? So that's a good tip for anybody. If you are doing that, if you travel like that, if you're getting and drive and you're thinking, oh, well, I don't eat out as much as I think I do. You probably eat out more than you think you do. Anyway, so I got her to, so she goes, okay, I can do that. So they visited with us for a couple more days. They go home. I get a call. Of course, we talk all the time, but in about 2-3 weeks, I think it was probably, 2 or 3 weeks. She calls me and she says, guess what? I said, what? What's going on? Well, I don't have any checks on my calendar. And of course, she'd been to town, she'd been to other places. She's done some things. I said, oh, that's great. How's that feel? She goes, I feel great. She also had that same mentality. And she had this even when we were kids, if she knew something was happening later in the day, it's like, well, eat that big breakfast. Like, when you go on the excursions, like I was just talking about, right? Eat that big breakfast because it's going to carry you through in case we don't stop for lunch early. And, so she had that mentality as well too. So we had talked about that and we, for the next thing, because she was saying, well, I've got this little punchy stomach happening here. And I said, well, remember what we talked about with spreading those meals out, not just loading up. She's like, oh, yeah, okay. So another 2 weeks go by and she calls me and says, guess what? What? What's going on now? And she was super happy. You could tell by her voice, right? Well, my stomach is so much flatter now because I've been eating the protein multiple times throughout the day. And I said, good for you, Mom. And she's in her 70s at this point, and so, late 60s, early 70s. And it was just really interesting to see. And I just had to share that story because, my mom was always my biggest cheerleader and she didn't, she would always go, oh, really? And then think about it. But then when it made sense to her, she actually did it. And I really respect that, when she knew that she could do better for her health, she did it. And so her and my dad have always been champions of that. And I just had to share that story. So I hope it touched you in some way. And I hope it resonated with you in some way. And so I told the story just because, maybe you're doing things you didn't even realize you're doing that may be sabotaging your efforts, that can include others sabotaging your efforts as well. Because, People don't do it to be mean. People don't do it to bring you down. They just, if someone say, oh, you can have this drink, don't worry about it. Oh, you can have this dessert, don't worry about it. They want to do it and they want you to join them so they feel better about doing it. But you have to do what's good for you. Okay? So if you want to join in, great. If you're feeling, I think I've had enough. I don't think I need that today. Then just say that. And the key is, when you are keeping those plates up and spinning as much as possible, when you adopt the mindset that you are not on vacation, you have changed location, you'll actually have more fun when you're there because you'll feel better. You won't be stressing about, oh, how much weight did I gain when I was gone? Oh, what do I have to do when I get home? Because it shouldn't be about depriving and pulling things back and punishing ourselves with the extra workouts. It should be that balance. Right? That it's, 80, 20, 90, 10, where most of the time we're doing what serves our body. We're fueling our body in a way that serves us, that keeps us energized and healthy and smiling and feeling great. And then, 10, maybe 20% of the time, we're fueling our soul and having those celebration meals and doing those things out. And it just makes sense, right? So think about that. Your body is your vehicle that drives you through life. It's the only one you're going to get. Think about your car in the driveway. If that was the only vehicle you could have between now and the time where you couldn't drive anymore, the only one ever, how would you take care of it? Right? You would put the right gas in, you would get the regular oil changes, you would rotate those tires, you would park it in a garage. If you could, you would clean out the garage and put the car in there, right? You would take care of it to the nth degree because you don't want to get stuck anywhere. You don't want it to break down. Well, same thing. You don't want to get stuck anywhere and you don't want it to break down. So when you go away, see if you can adopt that mindset of changing location instead of going on vacation and throwing all caution to the wind. Fuel your body, fuel your soul for sure, so you can enjoy and that you will enjoy the rest of your trip, the whole of your trip. And you'll come back with better memories, less stress, and you'll feel so much more refreshed and relaxed, I promise. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Spring break is coming up. If you're traveling and you've watched this, please send me a message, drop something in one of the chats wherever you're watching this, whatever platform you're watching on, because I'd love to hear how this impacted your trip, your location, and change your vacation or your changing location. All right. So thank you so much for watching today, and we'll see you again. Come back next week on the Fit Woman Podcast. Got so many amazing interviews coming up. Oh my gosh, you are in for a treat. All right. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.
Hey, thanks again for tuning in to the Fit Woman Podcast today. I hope you found some value here. Before you go, just a quick reminder, for any products, supplements, tools, or resources mentioned in today's episode, you can find everything over on my website. Just head on over to fuelignitethrive.com. That's fuelignitethrive.com and click on the shop favorites. I've linked the exact brands and products that I personally use and recommend to my clients. So it's super simple, no guesswork. The one exception is peptides. So for any questions on the peptides, please email me at Tania@fuelignitethrive.com. That's Tania, Tania at fuelignitethrive.com. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.